Pedro from A&P-Reacts. I'm here today with the great Fernanda of Krypta to talk about the debut record, Echoes of the Soul, out June 11th on Napalm Records. How's it going?
I'm doing just great, like pretty excited about the album release and everything that surrounds it. And yep, just really happy to be here talking to you too. Thanks for the chance.
Are you nervous? I mean, you have a lot of experience. It's not like this is your first rodeo, so to speak, or your first cup final, because you're Brazilian. I figure a cup final would make more sense than a rodeo. But do you still get a little bit nervous?
Definitely. It's like now with Krypta, I've been experiencing like lots of new, or at least like old emotions. I haven't been in touch for a while, to be honest, because although, like it's the same metal scene and I've been there, and, like lots of people know me already because of Nervosa and everything, but still Krypta is a new thing, like, so it's our first debut album. Like we have no idea how people are gonna react to our album, or like we know like some people have high expectations and everything, so it's all pretty new. Like, although I've been there before, but I've been there like kind of 10 years ago. So it's all pretty new, and it's a different genre. So yeah, like I've been experiencing lots of new or like old emotions, but it's been fun either way. Like I'm just really excited, like really excited.
What does Krypta give you that you weren't getting before with your previous band?
That's a tough question. When I left Nervosa, it's not that I was not having anything and I was looking for something else. Krypta was firstly thought of as a side project because we were still in Nervosa when we created Krypta. And thing is, like, our relationship there was already like a little bit strained, like worn out. Like it happens in, like in many different relationships and marriages and friendships and job relationships. It's just pretty common. Nothing tragic happens. It was just like, not the same thing, let's say. So we just thought with Krypta that we would be like refreshing to have like a different band environment, and also like a different creative outlet. Like we thought it would be even motivating for us in our main project at the time, that we would have like this new refreshing thing. But it's not that anything was lacking. It was more like the relationship was worn out, and I know like relationships always get worn out. That's how it works, and I know it will happen eventually with Krypta. It's just like, I don't know, the vibe was not matching anymore, like and I kind of noticed that when we were trying, like working hard on trying to write new music for Nervosa, and it was just not flowing together. To me, that was the turning point. That's when I said, okay, so this is not working. So it was the hardest decision of my life, of course, but I decided to quit, and I knew like I knew it would be the best for all sides, like and you can see that Nervosa's got an album out that everyone likes, and we've got like an album about to be released that people are pretty excited about, and both sides are just happy again writing, and like, so I think what I was lacking per se is, I don't know, I think like I was just trying to be happy and motivated writing music again. Let's put it this way.
When you look at the creative process behind Krypta, how much of it is you and how much of it is the rest of the band?
When it comes to lyrics and vocal parts, like it's mainly me. There's one song that I wrote based on Luana's idea, for example, but it was her idea, but I, like managed to adapt to my way of songwriting. And of course, I'm always open to, like whatever ideas they have on vocals and everything, and even with a producer, so many things changed a lot. But I'm definitely it's more me when it comes to vocals and my own instrument. But the songs, like the full concept of a song, it's definitely like very democratic in the band. Like every song in the album has a little bit of each of us, and that's why I think, like the album is diverse in some sort of way, exactly because there's a little bit of everyone in there. Yeah, there are songs that have more riffs by me, for example. There are songs that have more riffs from Sonia, for example, using our first singles as examples. From the Ashes is definitely like more from the side of Sonia, like all the epic melodies and everything. So there's definitely more contribution of her there. As for Starvation, for example, it's definitely like it's almost like riff wise, mainly written by me, and it's a whole different story. So there are some songs where one of us have more influence on, but in the end, all of us have opinions on them. And like Luana builds her drums, and we all suggest changes on the structure or new riffs or stuff. So basically it's like this.
Was there any challenges that were new for you? I mean, like I said, you have a lot of experience. It's not like this is your first time going around, but there's always something new. It seems like every record always offers something new, either from a creative perspective or from something that you haven't seen before that kind of creates an obstacle. Were there some challenges with this record?
Definitely. First of them were like, I've been writing thrash for like 10 years almost with Nervosa. So although like thrash and death metal sit on the same side of metal, which is extreme metal, they're still like very different genres, like they're very distinct. So it took me a while it took me some effort to actually adapt my way of writing music to what Krypta demanded. So like writing more like death metal oriented riffs and everything. But I think the main challenge per se would be like lyrically and vocal wise, I think. Lyrically, because like I wanted to explore a different thing from what I was doing in Nervosa because of the genre. It just usually explores different perspectives on lyrics. But also I didn't want to go for like the usual themes on death metal, which is either like too gory or like satanist per se, or stuff like that. I would like to go to another side of writing. And yeah, so it was a challenge to adapt what I wanted in my mind to what death metal craves, and same with vocals, because I would sing like mainly high pitched in Nervosa. And although like Chuck Schuldiner is there to prove that you can actually sing with high notes in death metal, I just thought it would be nice to experiment, to try something new, so I started testing like some deeper growls and everything, and just also in order to make something different from what I was doing, because I'm always competing with myself. That's the only competition I have. So I'm always trying to innovate in a sense. And I thought it was time to try something new, since I was changing genres, to try something new with my vocals. So, but it's challenging. Like people don't I don't know if everyone notices, but there's like lots of different nuances between thrash metal and death metal on the metric you create the lyrics on. So it was challenging, but in a good way. Like it was a good challenge.
And this takes me to my next point, which is listening to the album. I didn't feel like this was your prototypical straight up forward death metal record. There's a lot of other things here. I mean, there's a little bit of melodic death metal, there's death metal, but there's also some black metal. I felt like there was some blackened influences into the overall sound. So how do you define Krypta from a soundscape perspective?
I have no idea. I get that asked a lot, and I always ask back, and the person always usually says like, I also don't know. So I would say like hybrid kind of death metal, because there's definitely lots of emphasis on this Krypta cauldron, and this is definitely based on our main influences, which are like we have like our things that we have in common, like Morbid Angel. We all like Morbid Angel, you know, like, but we have like different personal tastes. And for example, me myself, I like it raw and like straight in your face kind of music. Like, and you can notice that in Starvation, which is mainly written by me, and Under the Black Wings, which is like kind of Cannibal Corpse-ish, and it's also mainly written by me. But there's Luana. She likes old school death metal, but different from me. I'm more like Florida 90s oriented. She likes old school Swedish death metal. And then Sonia she brings the epic melodies and everything. And then there's Taina, the other guitarist, who also likes it melodic, but in a more like technical, crazy way. Like she loves Death and Gojira, these bands and everything. And you can kind of hear it all in the album. And I think that's what makes it, you know, like different, if I can say that, because like we first started thinking we wanted, okay, let's write old school death metal, and we even used that label and on our social media, and then we just removed it because like we just started writing, and then we kind of noticed it was going somewhere else, you know, and we just let it flow organically, and it ended up in there, and somewhere we can't actually label, but still we like it very much. And I was very like, because I have my way of writing and everything, and on the beginning, like I was kind of weirded out when there were like some melodies and everything. I was like, I don't know if I like that. But in the end, now like I'm writing like riffs that are more like this, you know, like they're still raw, but they're a little bit more technical, or, you know, like, so yeah, it naturally started flowing somewhere. We just didn't stop the flow, and it got there. But it's definitely a mixture of genres, like, and I think through the track list we created, you can kind of notice that there's like Starvation and Possessed, and then Death Arcana, which is like slow paced, and then Shadow Within, which is like melodic and technical. So it's just a big cauldron.
but I think what they all have in common is this aggressive nature, that every song, once you get into it, it feels like you're right here in my face, like you're right here, and you're not backing down. So the sensation that I got at the end of the record, regardless of the waves that you go throughout, is that when you get to the end of the album, you're like, holy shit, like this was like in your face, aggressive, demanding your attention. So is that a combination of the length of the record, because the album is not super long, so it doesn't get boring from that perspective? Is that a combination of the length, the structure of the album, the ebbs and flows, the intros that you guys created for the songs, and then the soundscape itself? Is all of these three things coming together? Is that what gives you that abrupt, raw feeling in your face?
I think it might be, and I'm actually glad that you're pointing this out, because we were really, you know, like meticulous and perfectionist when trying to choose for everything, you know, like the set length. Like we definitely didn't want a long album, like definitely not. We wanted either like I even negotiated that with our label at some point. I just felt like we just felt like either we wanted like less tracks, or, you know, like more tracks but not like a very long album, and mainly because, you know, like I'm very influenced by old school albums, and they were like all 30, 35, 40 minutes.
Yeah.
And I love that. I think it makes like a fast but still enjoyable and intense experience. So I think the set length definitely contributes to that, and we were very like careful when we were choosing and deciding. We even wanted it to be like a little bit shorter, but in the end it was like that length, and we were like, okay, let's not cut any songs off or whatever. because we felt it was still flowing without getting boring, let's say. And the structure was also like something we really worked on. We didn't want to use like all the aggressive songs, although you say like all of them are aggressive, which I love, but we didn't want like all the fast songs at once and then the slow songs in the end. No, we really wanted a flow going on, like two like more intense songs and then a slower one and then an intro there just to refresh your ears and everything. So yeah, we were really paying attention to all these details, and I think in the end it contributes for it to be like I like the album, you know, like I'm not based on whatever like people say, because we're starting to get like reviews and you know, like from the interviews I've been getting, but I personally like the album, and I also could feel that it's, you know, like it's a fun kind of listen. It's not dull, you know, like and I think it's due to all these choices we made, definitely.
And we've talked about the record. Now we have to talk about you in terms of your vocals and your bass. Now, I have to mention this song, Bloodstained Heritage. The bass line on this track, it's delicious. It's like a nice caipirinha on a hot summer day. Like this thing was amazing. It hit the spot. Like, did you have a game plan for what you wanted out of your bass sound on this album?
Basically what I usually want is like Alex Webster. That's my main influence. Like usually, like I'm always like, okay, hammer smashed face, that little bass part itself, that's what I want for the record. That's the standard I have. But still, I wanted to explore a little bit more for the bass sound on this album. Again, like I like it high pitched too, as my vocals, like the clang, clang, clang. I like it crystal clear. But still, like it's death metal is usually, you know, like heavier in a sense than thrash metal. Not necessarily, but usually. So I thought I would add like some more like low bass kind of frequency here and there, but still with this high pitched you know, like punch kind of. And I think I kind of made it, you know, like because you can hear the album, like it's not super high, but also it's not like super distorted to the point that you can't hear. It's there, and in some songs it's punchy, you know, like so that was definitely like I worked a lot on that, on trying to find, with the help of the producer, we really worked together on trying to get the perfect sound, and it's still to my liking, and I'll probably use it very similarly live. But yeah, as for the bass lines, like I usually try to make them simple, only because like I could be playing like blah, 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 but I just think it's because to me, like my performance on stage, it's divided in like three parts, like vocals, bass, and the stage presence. I like having like an intense stage presence. So whenever I'm developing like a bass line or a vocal line, I'm always reminding that when I actually play this live, there's going to be three different roles going on. So I just want to make sure, that's why I have simple vocals, simple bass lines, and a kind of intense like stage presence, just because I really take carefully choose whatever I'm recording so I don't fuck it up live, you know, like basically. But so yeah, I always think of it simple, but I love being produced when I am in the studio. So I'm always very open to ideas from the producer and the other girls also. So there were some parts that I was trying to do like something a little bit more complicated, and the producer was like, even the engineer was like, no, you just need like a boom, boom. And I would feel so useless, like, damn, but this is so simple. But then I would listen to it and I was like, well, that's what the song needs, you know, like, so I really also went with the flow on recording this album.
And your vocals on this record are phenomenal. So the question really becomes, are your vocals built for Krypta, or is Krypta built for your vocals? Which one is it? Because you know, not to say that I didn't like your vocals with Nervosa, but this sound, this band, I think brings a little bit more out of you. And I think it gives us a lot more of who you are as an artist. So I really love your vocals on this record. So which one was it?
Thank you. I think the vocals were more built for Krypta because I really like to, so I even started taking like vocal lessons and everything just so I could explore my you know, like my own technique, which is fry vocals. But I was like, what if I could go like down, like for more lows and everything to actually match the songs. Like for example, Under the Black Wings, it's so like so like kind of dark and heavy, and I was like, yeah, I need to have like some growl, like deep growls in there. So I definitely adapt my vocals for Krypta, but like in a good way. Like I was like excited to actually do so. It was not something forced, like, oh, I think this song kind of needs it. I was happy to do it. No, I was really happy to do it. And I kind of like the result, you know, like I think, and what I still like the most is that I'm still studying a lot and there's still room for more, you know, like I pretty much think next album is going to be like, there's going to be something new, maybe, who knows, if I maybe learn it fast. But still, yeah, I think I also felt like this slight evolution per se, but yeah, and I really liked in the end, you know, like because it allowed me, like I love interpretation, either live, like I'm always interpreting the songs and everything with my eyes, and I just love it. And I always loved doing that on my vocals too, although I was a little bit more limited with my high pitches in Nervosa only. I could still like interpret it here and there, and now like I have more room for interpretation, you know, like there's, and when there are riffs that are more like kind of desperating, I put the high pitch, and then the heavier ones I put the low ones, and also depending on the words I'm using. So I definitely have more room now to explore and interpret, put like some more interpretation, which I think is really important. And also, yeah, some of the songs there are really relate, some, most all the songs they are really related to, you know, like processes I needed to go through on my personal journey and core beliefs I had or I had to leave behind. So it's not that in Nervosa it was not, but it was more like protest songs, and you have to be involved to sing like a protest song too. But here it's different, like it really talks to my soul, like in some deep level. So I think more interpretation come like more naturally, and you can definitely listen to it on the songs too.
I have one last question for you, and that is,
really, wow, that's fast. If you need some more time, let's do it. I'm fine.
It's up to you. I have a couple of more questions, but normally they don't give me more than 25 minutes, so that's why I was going to cut it short. So let me ask you this.
I'm good.
Okay, so then I'm going to ask you this, and then we're going to jump into a couple of other questions. So I wasn't disappointed with the record, but there was a part of me, a little part of me, that it was hoping to see as a bonus track, Corona Pop Depressão. Your own take on what's happening now versus the song from like the early 90s. I was like, oh, it's not there. Maybe on the next record.
That's actually an amazing suggestion. You know, like my boyfriend is the bassist from Ratos de Porão.
Yeah, that's what I thought. I thought, okay, maybe like considering everything that's happening now, we need to bring that song back, but just like update the lyrics.
Definitely. That's an awesome idea. I'll definitely comment with the guys about it. But yeah, I just felt like, although like the pandemics, you know, like were really affected me and so many and everyone in the world, I just felt like there were like some other things that I wanted to explore, you know, like lyrically. So that's why there's no like Corona thing related on the album. But also you can relate, you know, like many people lost their, you know, like loved ones, and many people lost their jobs, many people, you know, like ended relationships, you know, like, and in the album you talk a lot about ending of cycles, endings and beginnings. So in some way I think people could find some relief or inspiration on the songs. But I definitely didn't want to talk specifically about Corona, but I talked about some things that are consequences of it. For example, starvation talks about starvation, talks about actually people starving to death. And Brazil now with the pandemics, it's coming back to the world hunger map, which is really sad, you know, like, and not only due to Corona, but because of the government too. And so I decided to write about this because it's not like explicit about Corona, but it's a consequence of this whole process we're going through, you know, like, so yeah, no Corona pop repressão on this album, but that's a good idea for a collab, definitely. Since we are on the collabs era, that's a good one. And if we ever do it, I'll make sure to give you the credit for it.
I would be looking forward to this because I've been playing the original and I feel like the original still, it's still valid today. I mean, it's crazy. It's been so long, like 20 years or something. And that song still represents the world we're living in, which shows you that for as much as we've evolved, there's certain things that we haven't changed one bit as far as
exactly
in society. So I think you guys need to bring that track back, just change it a little bit.
Yeah, and that's a good one. I'll definitely talk to my boyfriend about it.
And you mentioned the lyrics in terms of like protest lyrics versus like a different style of lyrics in terms of what you can express. Does that allow you to be a little bit more cathartic in terms of, you know, using the lyrics with Krypta to kind of like exteriorize your own inner demons? Something that it was a little bit more difficult perhaps before?
That's an amazing question. I loved it. Thank you. And definitely, the answer is definitely, because like whoever follows me on my social media knows that I'm like pretty much of an activist on my socials. So I'm always like protesting about stuff or whatever I feel it's wrong. So it's there, you know, like it's there. And I was so thankful that I could use my art, and I still do, because there are still like a couple of protest songs on this album, and we'll get there. But I was thankful that I could use my music so far as my main tool of expressing myself about, you know, like all the wrong things going on in the planet. But still, like I was thinking, like when I was coming to Krypta and you know, like willing to change a little bit on what I was writing about, I thought that, you know, like there's so much we need to talk about. Like there's so much. Of course, like many of us are still worried about the social things that happen, and we're all affected by politics and everything. But also there are more things, you know, like we're all human beings with like experiences and emotions and mental processes and psychological problems and stuff like that. So it's not only about that. That's a main important thing, like politics and the social and society as a whole, but there's also some other things, you know, like, and I think I've been through a lot on the last years, and I found comfort in other kinds of art and artists, you know, like I found comfort in albums and in movies and everything. And I thought like I'll try and do the same, you know, like I'll try to do something where I can express myself and cathartically, you know, like put it out, unburden stuff. But also maybe I can inspire people and maybe I can comfort people in a way. So that was really important to me. And I've started having like the first feedback on it. I got people like saying that like I got a guy who had cancer, and like starvation really talked to him in a personal way, like on that part that I say, my old tactic of sleeping to forget won't work this time. This is my deathbed. He was like, man, that part hit me hard. And on From the Ashes, I got like feedback from people who had recently like tried and committed suicide, and then the song was like a light at the end of the tunnel somehow, you know, like because like it's possible to, you know, like endure this, you can do it. So I felt like it was like a little bit of mission accomplished already, because it's both like cathartic to me, and I love this word you used, you know, like to be unburdening such personal stuff I've been through, but also inspiring people. And no one can fight, honestly. And I noticed that no one can fight for what's right in society if you're broken inside, like, so if I can comfort people like somehow so they can start feeling better inside, and then as a result they can, like feel strong to fight for their rights or whatever, I think it's a double, it's a win-win, like.
I think a lot of times now people try to fix the world before they even fix themselves. I don't think you can achieve. I can't help you if I'm not able to help myself first. So I think there's a little bit of that. And when it comes to the music and to the lyrics, growing up like I did in the late 80s, 90s, listening to metal, I always gravitated to the lyrical content because I felt like I wasn't alone. There was somebody else feeling what I was feeling, and I could connect with it. I don't know if you see it this way, but I see a lot of bands now, as far as the lyric content is concerned, they're perhaps a little bit scared of going into certain topics because they don't know how fans are going to react and what kind of a negative impact that's going to have to the band. Is that a concern for you, or are you kind of like an open book?
I'm an open book. And like I get criticized by it, by people who have like different ideas from mine, but that's what art is like expression. But above all, what I intend with my lyrics, above like just expressing myself and putting it out there, or trying to make you feel like this is what I'm telling is the truth, I like proposing debates and philosophical, like processes. That's what I always try to do. I'm not saying that what I think is right, but have you tried looking through these lens? Like, so that's what I try and say. Like, of course, starvation, for example, it is a protest song, and it talks about a fact that are a billion people starving every day in the world. But I write there that it's because of the system. It's people are systematically starved to death by the system, and this is an opinion, but I'm proposing a debate. Like, you can buy that, but maybe you can't, but it was worth the shot. Like, and but that's it. I think art, people forgot, I think, like some people forgot that art is expression. Like, artists know that it's really hard to make art without trying to express something. Art is expression. And if you're like trying to, maybe I'm not expressing this and this and that, I think with time it ends up affecting your own art. So I just let it flow. People can buy it or not, and I'll get into some certain topics, but like, change is not always comfortable. We know that. Like, if I want to change something, if I have like, if I feel something can be changed, I know this is not going to be comfortable. So I'm not afraid going to these places, like, at all. I know I can get criticized, but also I'll be cherished by some other people who think alike. Like, so people, I think, sometimes are afraid to go there, but they forget that there are also like millions of people who also think like them. Like, of course, I think you'll always have to be respectful. Like, your right to express yourself ends when the right to existence of the other person, like, is there, like, it starts. So I think there's always got to be respect to the existence of other human beings. So of course, like, no, have no tolerance for prejudice and stuff like that, because this is not opinion, this is disrespect. But when it comes to opinion, like, as long as you're respectful, like, I think it should be expressed, and there are people who will like, and there are people who will not like, and we got to be open to this whenever we want to express ourselves. And what I try to do to go to, like, go to these wounds that I know could be complicated was like write it in a more philosophical way. Just like in starvation, I'm not like starvation because of capitalism, people starve, and like, I'm not talking about that like explicitly. But what I try to do is like philosophically writing, like describing a person starving to death. So maybe a person can look the situation through the hypothetical person on my lyrics, like, damn, like, do people really eat grass and rocks? Yes, they do. People in my family ate rocks, So, and that's what I try to do. And like, Bloodstained Heritage, it's a political song, definitely. It talks about the miscegenation process in the Americas, mainly in Latin America. And like, it's tough. Like, what I write there is tough, but I was like, how can I talk about all these hideous things that happened in a, you know, like, philosophical way that will make you think, people will make people maybe think, and not, you know, like, just reject the idea. So I think it also goes like, you can get there on these certain topics, but there are ways you can do so.
I think art has to be thought-provoking, right? So like when I listen to your music, I want something to click, right? I want something, I don't want you to tell me what to think, but I want you to kind of point me, hey, have you looked into this?
Exactly.
And then I can make up my own thoughts by looking into it on my own, and kind of like, wow, like I can find my own conclusions in my own way. I think what sometimes people kind of lose themselves is, instead of bringing a problem to the forefront and saying, hey, listen, I don't know how to solve it, I don't know how we got here, but here's the problem. People tend to always come from a place where I know better than you, and I'm telling you how to fix it. I mean, like, I think that's when you start to lose people, because you come from a place of superiority, and you don't necessarily come from a place of equality, if you will.
Exactly. And that's why I said, like, I try to, you know, like, offer debates, because that's it. I'm not saying I'm right or that I'm wrong. This is my perception, maybe. And it's not, you know, like, this and that, you know, like, it could be that a person is read my lyrics and she gets to a different conclusion that's even, like, cooler than what I was thinking, and then they share this with me and we get somewhere else. So I think that's the cool thing, you know, like, just being open to, you know, like, to express something, and also to receive something that people, you know, like, presented to you. Maybe you don't like it, and still, it's not my thing, or I don't agree, I prefer somewhere else, but still, like, at least you thought about it. Because I think most of the problems we have nowadays is because, like, our society's been living on the automatic, you know, like, we're automatically doing our stuff and accepting and denying things. We don't, you know, like, I think lots of people don't stop and think about, and actually make, like, an internal debate on the things, you know, like, so I think that's why it's cool that, you know, like, we have this different myriads of song themes out there, because we can think about stuff and maybe get into new conclusions.
Okay, now it's really the last question before the guys at Napalm Records chop my balls, and that is for you.
It's fine, really. I don't have another interview right now. I'm cool. Like, I can be for like 10 more minutes. It's fine. So we can keep going.
So my last question for you is about yourself. We've talked about your lyrics and the message and the discussion that you're trying to put into the forefront. But now, going through this album, creating this album musically and lyrically, what have you discovered about yourself?
I love your interview. So many cool questions. I learned that there's always, I mean, I knew that already, but that just got more intense. That there's always room for improvement. You know, like, this is the first thing, because I thought I had done a little bit of everything when I was in Nervosa, but now I saw there's a new world opening up, like, lyrically wise and vocal wise and music wise. So there's always room for change and improvement. So that is the first thing. And I did that with my vocals mainly. And I was really happy. And now I can still, like, grow somehow. So this is the first thing. And the second, I'll try not to get emotional, and the second thing, and to me, like, my dearest lesson from the whole process with, you know, like, my transition from Nervosa to Krypta, is that, you know, like, cycles end. Cycles end, and there's always, when a door closes, there's always another one with, like, a world of new possibilities, you know, like, that can open. So to me, that was the biggest lesson. Like, it's okay to end cycles. If you have enough strength to endure it, like, there's always, like, light and a new world at the end of the tunnel, and on new doors. So the main message I learned is like, yeah, there can always be rebirth after the death of a cycle. So that was like very intimate, but that was the biggest lesson I learned with this whole thing, like Nervosa dash Krypta, is that, like it's fine to take some hard decisions in order to be happy.
Yeah, I agree with you 100%. The first step is always the hardest.
And it was tough. It was tough. I thought I was gonna die. It was like the first time that actually passed on my mind. I was like, no, go the fuck away. Like, go away. I don't want to think about that. But in the end, like deep down, I knew that would be the best thing. And now we see, like, where would it be, all the three of us be, if I didn't take that step? So, like it was tough. I thought I was gonna die literally. But here I am, like still like experiencing new emotions again, and exploring like another side of my musical career, and being excited and motivated again. So
and I think you have to look at it instead of perhaps being part of the death of one band, now you caused the rebirth of two. So
exactly.
That's
what I try to, of course, it might sound like a little bit arrogant. Yeah, thanks to my decision, we now have two amazing bands.
Thanks to my sacrifices.
Yeah, my sacrifice. It might sound arrogant, but in the end, like I'm actually really proud, like of my step. Like, because the three of us back then, we knew like things were not moving forward that in that way, on that kind of dynamic. And someone needed to take this bold, hard step, and I was like, okay, I'll do it. I'll probably just die, but I'll do it. But now I'm just proud. I look back and I'm so happy to see the band I have tattooed here, which is Nervosa, and which was like my main project for nearly a decade. I don't want it to, like to to be ruined or whatever. I'm happy that they're happy, and like moving on with the legacy I helped building, like. And in another side, I'm here happy with the new thing I'm created, and which I love already. So I'm pretty proud when I look back.
Well, Fernanda, thank you very much for your time, man. This was an absolute pleasure.
You.
Muito obrigado, muito obrigado.
Muito obrigada. Thank you. It truly means a lot. After a whole process I've been through, it truly means a lot that, like there's still people interested on knowing what I'm doing and excited as I am. So thank you so much. Thank you so much. It was a good one for you.
Yeah, it was an absolute pleasure having you on the channel to chat. And don't forget, if you guys get that song off the ground, give me a holla.
I will, and the credits will definitely be for you. Don't worry.
All right. Take care. Have a great day.
Thank you. You too.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.